Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women to discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey.
Hello there, and welcome back into the Cornerstone Integrative Healing Podcast. It's Kari and Jenn here, and we're back for another great episode. We have a good topic today. We've talked about both of these things separately some, but we wanted to kind of link them together and let you see sort of the hidden cycle between the gut and the nervous system and why it really matters. Like so many women that we see are dealing with anxiety, they're dealing with digestive issues, sometimes brain fog, hidden food sensitivities that they don't really know that they have that are kind of feeding these things. And really, these issues are very, very connected to these two systems. And honestly, it's just a cycle that keeps going unknowingly and just keeps fueling these symptoms. And a lot of times we want to look at those as like separate problems, because I think that's a lot of times how the conventional system works, right? You go to one doctor for one thing and another doctor for another thing. But we definitely like to look at things as one whole body, right? And all of these systems are connected. And so I think it's really helpful to kind of zoom out and get a 30-foot view of some of these issues. And so that's what we hope to do today.
Yeah. So I would say, looking at it from how each affects the other would probably be a good way to start. And I think for most people, they're familiar with, when you're nervous and, you feel like you have to go to the bathroom all of a sudden. So they know that they've heard the gut-brain connection before, but they really don't understand like how stress can affect the gut, how fight or flight shuts down digestion, right? So we have two sides of our nervous system, the parasympathetics and sympathetics. When you're in fight or flight, which is your sympathetics, that is not a mode that you digest in. So what happens when your body is stressed, right, is blood flow actually shifts away from the digestive organs because it's going to the limbs, right? It needs to make sure it can get away from whatever stressor there is. So, the digestive organs don't have good blood flow. Your stomach acid decreases because, again, digestion is not a priority when you're trying to save your life. So stomach acid decreases, enzyme production decreases. You actually have motility changes in the gut, so peristalsis changes. And that shows up as some of the symptoms that you talked about, Kari: gas, bloating, constipation or diarrhea, or back and forth, acid reflux, poor absorption. Those are all how it shows up over time. Now, the number one initial problem is low stomach acid, right? What do most people have? Heartburn. What's one of probably the most prescribed drug? One of the most is the PPIs, which is your acid blocking, because so many people have a decrease in hydrochloric acid in the stomach. And so you're actually making it worse by taking those PPIs, by the way. So
we did a whole episode on that.
Yes. So even if you feel like you eat well, but your digestion isn't working well, if your body doesn't feel safe, right? You're thinking about work, you're rushing through lunch as you're working on, something. You don't sit down when you eat. You're eating in your car. That all will shut down digestion because the body's thinking it's not safe. And then on the flip side, how the gut impacts the nervous system. So believe it or not, your gut, of course, and we've talked about this many times, your gut influences your brain chemistry, right? A lot of our major neurotransmitter production is done in the gut, right? And your microbiome, which is the makeup of the good and negative microbes in your small intestine, affects your mood, affects your stress response, and affects inflammation. In fact, they've done so much research about how the microbiome is a major player in things like ADHD and, anxiety and diabetes, metabolic syndrome, all these other conditions, right? That have kind of a footprint of what the imbalances in the microbiome. And so when the microbiome is off, when you have what's called leaky gut. So what is leaky gut? I do want to talk about that for a second because a lot of people don't understand
Yeah.
that. So leaky gut is changes in the actual epithelial cells and that single layer that's dividing basically the bloodstream and activation of the immune system from the digestive system. So when you have digestion taking place, those broken down nutrients, of course, get absorbed through that single layer and then released into the bloodstream and transported. What happens with leaky gut is those epithelial layers actually get inflamed, and so there's not a close junction between those epithelial cells. And so things leak out into the bloodstream that aren't fully digested. And so the body reacts to that. The immune system reacts to that. Um, and therefore our brain reacts to that. Because if our gut is inflamed, our brain is inflamed and vice versa. When the gut is, you know, off, whether it's the leaky gut, whether it's the mucogen layer. So there's another like mucogen layer that the microbiome produces, or the microbiome is off. You will have increases in inflammation. You'll have leakage of, these proteins through the gut. There's toxins, actually, that those are specifically inflammatory to the body and to the brain. So if the body sees those leaking, it will create a stress response because the body's like, this is not good, right? We're leaking toxins basically. And then your nutrient absorption changes. So again, if you see you have mood changes, you have digestive changes, you tend toward depression or anxiety, plus you're struggling with acid reflux or gas and bloating. Again, these are not separate issues. These are one and the same. Um, and so what we want to do is sort of break that cycle, right? So the cycle is, right, we have stress, which leads to poor digestion. Poor digestion leads to gut imbalance. The gut imbalance leads to inflammation, leaking of the toxins, more stress signals. Stressless signals lead to more anxiety. And then that cycle just keeps going over and over and over again. So the gut can stress the nervous system, and the nervous system stresses the gut. And so what we need to do is sort of see how we can break that cycle. Um, so do you want to talk about just some of the patterns that
Yeah.
we'll see?
Sure. Yeah. This is not an exhaustive list, but these might be some patterns that you see. You have both bloating and brain fog. You have just a feeling of being like off, just not feeling well after you eat. Maybe it's in eating in general, or maybe it's just eating certain foods, anxiety after eating, possibly a history of antibiotics or just gut issues in general. Tired but wired, which would definitely like be just that you're tired at night, but you just can't seem to settle down and go to sleep, and you have digestive issues. Those are just kind of some things that patterns that you might, look back and think, yeah, I kind of had those going on. Definitely gut symptoms during stressful seasons as well. Maybe, you had like a certain situation that was really stressful and your gut seemed to just go crazy during that time. And you didn't really realize the correlation, but you do now looking back. So there's definitely root causes that are driving both of these things, and they're very, very connected, which is the whole point of us doing this episode, is just to help you see the connection between these two.
Yeah. Did you say anxiety after eating?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's, I think if you can see how maybe eating certain foods affects your moods even.
Yeah.
These are all things that we see very often, very, very often. Um, and, what's causing them are related. So what's causing your anxiety is probably related to your digestive issues. And so what we want to do is a lot of times is, and that's one of the first things we do, obviously, is work on nervous system regulation, right? And digestion. You have to work on both to really
Yeah.
see the results. We do test, we do things like a GI map, or gut zoomers to really look in depth. Are there gut infections, bacteria, parasites, H. pylori, amoebas, anything, too much of a good type of bacteria. So even the bacteroides, or depending on what class, it could be something like a SIBO. Looking at food sensitivities, toxic exposure, so metals, chemicals, those will all affect nutrient deficiencies by themselves. So, as I mentioned, decreasing HCl is a massive problem, especially as we
Yeah.
age, right? Over 35, our HCl production naturally goes down. So, zinc and whole food B vitamins are key to
And
producing.
sodium.
Yes, and sodium are key for producing hydrochloric acid.
Mhm.
Those are first and foremost. Like, you always want to start with digestion north to south. So helping the hydrochloric acid production and then shutting down the stress response. So taking 3 deep breaths before you eat a meal
Yeah.
shifts the nervous system substantially.
Yeah.
And then, meal timing, as we said, to stay out of that fight or flight, because once your blood sugar drops, you get into that chronic blood sugar instability. And that's by itself can be stressful to the system. So these don't affect just one system, it affects the whole body. And so the nervous system and the digestive system, working together, whether they're physical, emotional, usually there's both. Um, those need to be addressed together to address the emotional, symptoms, mood issues, as well as digestive. So, these are simple, practical tools. I know Kari is like the champion of eating slow. I mean, she really she has, I wish everybody could model it, because that's probably, I mean, she eats very slow, very mindfully, chews all her food thoroughly. And it does make a difference.
I just like food, okay? I just like
Yeah.
food, and I do love to eat slow. It's funny because my dad always ate really slow. He never drank a lot during meals, and, I don't know, I guess I just grew up seeing that, not that I always did that.
Right,
However, I think the older that I've gotten, I just really enjoy, like, enjoying my food, and
right.
it's like I don't know, I mean, that is why God created food, right? For nourishment and for joy, so
Yeah, for
we
sure.
can have both. And
Yeah.
and 2, it just while you were talking, it made me think about and just this whole conversation is I think sometimes, especially maybe if you have been more in the conventional system or maybe a little bit newer to, these types of conversations about getting to the root cause, sometimes we can be used to outsourcing our health, meaning we just want somebody to figure it out for us, which I do understand sometimes we need that. However, it just makes me think how important it is to be in tune with your body, not overly like obsessive about every little thing. That's not what we're saying, but to just know your body and to just be in tune with it and not just something shows up and you just, forget about it or don't think about it or don't I mean, does that
For
even
sure.
make sense? I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's like a different concept if you're not used to that because you're probably like, "How am I supposed to know all these things? I haven't really been paying attention." So maybe this is just your sign to pay a little bit more attention. Slow down. I think that's what it is, right? Slow down a little bit and be a little bit more mindful about what's going on around when you eat and with around these different things because they really all are signals. Your
Yeah.
body's not broken, it's just it's telling you something. Are you listening?
Yeah. For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
I'm off my
And
soapbox.
what's that?
I said I'm off my soapbox.
No, it's
I
all
think
good.
it's really important.
Well, and traditionally, we've gotten away from just like, right, like times were different. 50 years ago, things were
Oh,
slower.
yeah. Yeah.
We did less. We weren't as distracted. We weren't as busy. We ate more whole foods. We ate more fiber. We ate more fermented foods, traditional, what they call
Yeah.
traditional foods, right? They knew how to prep and soak their beans, their nuts and their seeds. They, they ate the whole foods, more fiber. They ate good tallow or,
Yeah. Like the whole animal, like nose to
right,
tail.
right,
Yeah.
right.
We
Um,
can still do these things. It's a
yeah,
choice, right?
right.
It is a choice. And I understand you might be in a season where you're doing the best that you can, and I think that's great. We're all kind of doing the best that we can, right? There's so
Sure.
much grace. However, I think sometimes we think things are out of our control when they're really not. We just have to make a harder choice. We have to give up something. When you're saying yes to something, you're always saying no to something else. So you might
Yeah,
need to change. We all probably need to evaluate, right? What are we saying yes to, and what are we saying no to, and does that need to change? And ask
yeah.
the Lord. Ask the Lord for guidance. He wants these things for you, and He'll show you a way, or He'll make a way.
Yeah, so the whole point anyway, is that we really want you to stop chasing just your gut issues or just your anxiety and mood issues. And we want you to support the whole system. Like trying to fix anxiety through mindset alone or trying to fix gut issues without looking at stress,
Yeah, it ain't gonna work.
it's not going to work, right? So this is just to kind of bring your attention to the deep connection between nervous system and gut issues, and the gut brain connection. So we hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We'd love to answer your questions. This is one of our favorite topics, and one that probably one of the hills will probably die on, but
As you can
um,
see.
yes. Yes, we'd love to hear from you. But if there's anything, other questions relating to the topic or how maybe there's something else you want to hear more about more in depth, please let us know. Until the next time, we'll be praying for you. If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we are praying for you.